हाँ सर, आपका हाँ सर, अभी देखा। इसको स्किप दो। हम कभी स्किप करें एक बार वो good afternoon to everyone. I am audible. Is it audible? Hello. Okay. So good afternoon to everyone. So I would like to introduce you one of the expert who is with us. So Dr. Nikunj, can you switch on your camera?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Am I audible?
So good afternoon to everyone. Very good afternoon. Now today we have expert Dr. Nikunj Sahil Ramani. It is my privilege to introduce Dr. Nikunj. He is an assistant professor and currently head of the Department of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensic at NSIT ISCF, which is affiliated with the National Forensic Science University. He has extensive teaching and administrative experience, who, who is expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning, generative and agentic AI, IoT, security, and signal processing. And he have wonderful expertise in the back-end development tools. He is a senior member of IEEE, and Dr. Tahir Ramani has been invited as speaker by several premium institutes, including IIM, IITs, NITs, and other institutes of national importance. He has published more than 50 research papers and guided more than 25 postgraduate dissertation and 40 undergraduate projects. We are delighted to welcome him and look forward to an insightful and enriching session which was now taken by Dr. Nikunj. Sir, it is over to you.
Thank you very much, sir, Dinesh sir, for your
Why
kind
it is not coming,
introduction.
sir?
Am I audible? Am I audible? Is
Yes,
it
sir.
audible? Yeah, I guess
So why
I'm
is
audible.
coming, sir?
Okay. I guess we have the responses of yes, so I guess I'm audible. Okay. If it is not audible, you can just write it in the chat window. Currently, if I'm not audible, and if I'm audible, then it is okay. I got the responses. Okay. Right. So, thank you very much, sir, for inviting me and uh, having me over here in such a prestigious FDP on advanced Python programming. So, I will share my screen. Just let me know if the screen is visible or not, so that I will start my session. Is my screen visible? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for the responses. So yeah, very good afternoon to all of you. And I'll start with the libraries which are very much important as far as the advanced Python frameworks are concerned. Uh, Specifically, I'll be explaining you and discussing with you about Pydantic, which is one of the very much important Gen AI in agentic AI library, uh, very much aggressively used in application development based on Gen AI and agentic AI. And one more library which is kind of a front end of the Python, which is called as Streamlit. So first of all, I'll start with the Pydantic. What is Pydantic? Why we need Pydantic? Again, those three questions: why, what, and how. Why we require a particular concept into the picture, right? So I'll give you one example. Supposedly, uh, I will open one form, which is this form. I would like to first tell you the idea about the how, what is Pydantic and how you can relate it with the really real world scenario, right? So supposedly this is the SBI bank RTGS NEFT form, right? Now when you go to the bank and you are applying for NEFT or RTGS, right? Now if you see that these are the boxes which are given to you and where you have to fill your information, right? Now what will happen is, supposedly if my IFSC code is having 10-digit code, right? And if I put 11 digits, so one digit will go out of the box, right? In date, I'll write in words. Supposedly today is 27th August, so everything in word, right? If I write the total value, which is some figure, which is on rupees, if I write it in words instead of in digits, that is a value, the numbers, right? Instead of the numbers, I write the words in place of the numbers. What will happen? If I just uh, intentionally do this, what will happen is the form will get rejected, right? So I'll not be able to do the NEFT or RTGS, whatever my requirement is, right? Why? Because I actually filled the information, which is the something else, which is not actually required by the form. If form is saying that the IFSC code should be 10 digits code, right? It should be having a mix of characters and the numbers. But if you fill something else inside it, right, what will happen is it will not, the bank officials will not be able to match that, right? Same, the account number is, let's say, 15 digit, but I am writing inside the box 18 digits, right? So what will happen? It is not able to match with the actual account number. And this is the non-technical example why we need the Pydantic. That means that if you have Pydantic kind of library, it helps you, point number one, where it helps you actually. It helps you for the data type validation. Data type validation. Now let me come to the actual technical part, that what I am trying to tell you. Okay. Supposedly, I am having one, let's say, application. This is my, I'm using this application. Let's say the application X, right? Now this application is calling one API. API, I hope everybody is aware about API, application programming interface. Now, when this app is, which I am using currently, when it is calling this API, API will give the response to the app, in certain format. API will give the response in certain format to the app. Because I am the user of the app, I'll be able to see that response, right? Now that format, if API is giving some format, that always a structured format. Structured format. It actually a JSON schema where you have key and you have a value. You have a key and you have a value, right? So in this case, suppose this API is returning some response, right? And that response has to be validated before it is actually observed by the user. So the API will return the response. User is waiting for the response. Once API will return that response, it will be able to observe by the user at the app GUI. App GUI, right? So now that response must be able to validate by the app. Means what? That app should be able to match that whatever API is returning as a part of response and whatever is the format of app which is able to understand so that it can show the user, it has to do something called as validation, right? So that is called as data type validation. Now, what do you mean by data type validation? Supposedly this API is returning that your name should be string, your age should be integer. All these are data type. I'm giving you one example like age, name, all these are the tabs which API is actually returning. If this data types are not validated by the app, then app will not be able to show that response to the user. Okay, right? So in that case, what will happen is that app has to first validate itself that whatever response has been sent by the API, is it correct or not, right? And that validation will perform by Pydantic. That validation will be performed by Pydantic. Okay, so Pydantic is nothing but inherent data type validation advanced Python framework, which will actually validate the data which has been returned by or which has been triggered by any external entity, right? So API is one of the example. It could be anything. Instead of API, it could be anything. But generally, we understand that whenever we hit any URL, any endpoint, we consider it as a part of API, right? So the API will always revert back the response in the structured format, and that has to be validated by the app, right? Okay. Now, in that case, what is the requirement? The requirement is the output should be a structured format. The output should be a structured format, right? So now I'll explain you through the code. I hope you are able to see my VS Code screen. I will directly explain you with the code itself, right? Okay. Now, what is happening is supposedly if you are if it is case you can consider that the hospital database management system. Hospital database management system. This is the example which I took for the hospital management system, right? Now, in this case, whatever the records has been submitted by the patient, the records which are submitted by the patient, the data should go inside the hospital database. And there are several tabs which are there in the form. Okay, patient name, patient age, gender, and so on. We'll discuss one by one. Okay, there are many tabs which are given to the patient. Patient has to fill the form, and that data entry which has been performed by the patient which will go to the hospital management system, database management system, or it will go inside the database. You can understand like it will go inside the database. Now, once patient will fill that form, all the tabs like name, age, I took currently 2 for beginning part. I'll increase more tabs as and when I'll show you the more programs. If I increase the tabs, uh, every particular field has to be validated by the hospital app, whatever the app of that hospital is, where all the patient records are getting stored at the backend in the database. So front end is your the hospital app where you have a patient form. Patient will enter the data will go inside the database, and before it gets stored in the database, it has to get validated. That is the problem statement, right? Now, what Python is actually helping you, how Python is actually helping you, and it will also create some kind of falsification if you don't use the pydantic. Okay. So in this, let's say I have made one function called as insert patient data. This is one function inside which I am passing two things. Because this function, when it will get trigger, it requires two things. What is the first thing? Name, and second thing is age. Name should be of type string, age should be of type integer. Okay. Now name, when I give it as a string and I am passing over here the string. So what it will do is that it will go inside this function and it will print that name first. Okay. Then second is it is asking the age, and age is actually I want it into the integer, right? But what I am passing, you just have a look at it. I am passing something called a string, right? Now here there is a mismatch. The patient is submitting in string 30, but the hospital app at the backend, the database is having column of age, and that column is actually requiring integer. But what will happen if I run this code? So if I just open the terminal and if I go inside CD pydantic codes, right? Now, if I run first code, which is Python 1.py, you can see that first, whenever I will fire this function, it will go inside this function. It will print the name, which is Nikunj. It will print the age. Now, age I passed string, but I want integer. Then also it is able to run and give me the answer as what I passed, which is 30. And the final thing is like you understand that these values are actually inserted into the database. Although I have not connected database over here, but understand it for the sake of timing. That is why I have written this print statement that these datas are now into the database. But the main important point which is of the discussion in this code is this one. So what do you mean by this? This means that Python is passing the data types without the validation, even though if you pass something and the other side, whatever is the requirement, if it is not even satisfied, then also it will get passed. Right? This is the first objective motive of using the pydantic. Now I'll go to the second program. Now to avoid this kind of scenario, like I don't want this value to be passed, right? I want strictly like this. It should be like this, integer, or maybe something like this. Okay. Now if I run this, I want this one, but even though it was like it was passing the string value also, I am writing one schema, that is a strict schema I am enforcing. What kind of schema I am enforcing? Just see this. This is the function where I am passing the name in the string and age in the integer, which is the requirement currently, right? Now this is the rule I am passing inside this. If name type is string and age type is integer, then only then go inside this if loop and enter the data into the database. If this is not satisfied, if the string, if the name is not of type string, if age is not of type integer, then it should raise the error which is incorrect data type, right? So if I give something like over here 30, then it should not pass this. So if I run this code, Python 2.py, it will give me incorrect data type error, right? But if I pass like this, then it should run and it will give me the error. I am enforcing the schema over here. See, in first program, what is happening is it was passing even the string values. That's what the problem statement is. If it should not be taking this because I have already defined age as an integer. It should not able to run this, but still it will run this. See, it is running this. That is the problem. It should not happen. It should be only taking the integer, but it is only also passing the string. For that, I want to avoid this kind of thing. I want that age should be always integer. So I am enforcing one schema. What is that schema? This is the schema. That name should be always of the type string and the age should be always of the type integer. I hope you got my point. Right? And that is why I'm keeping this so that even if I pass string over here, then it will give me the error. See, it is giving me the error. Right? It is clearly stating that it should be an integer. Okay. But there is one drawback of this. This is okay. Like it works, right? This is okay. But there is one problem of this. What can be the problem? The problem is that for how many parameters you will write this kind of condition. Here we do have only two parameters, name and age. If you have more 50 parameters, if you have more 100 parameters, in that case, for how many data you will write it like this? That is the biggest problem, right? Okay. So that means that this kind of thing where we are enforcing the strict schema, this kind of programming is not the scalable architecture, right? Because we need to write several checks. If we have 100 parameters, we need to write 100 if 100 parameters condition with and in between, and that is not the optimized way of writing down the program. Okay, so it's like manual checking that name should be of type string, age should be of type integer, and so on. I'll write and I'll just writing down the things till 50 parameters, so we have 50 conditions. That is not the good idea. Okay, and for which we have something called as, okay, one more thing. As I told you that we are checking over here something like this strict and schema which we are enforcing. This is not only one check which we need to perform. There may be many other checks like what? Here we are checking data type validation, data type check. We are doing for a data type check, but we also have to check the data itself. Like suppose the age, it should not be less than 0. That will be inside the main condition. Understand the problem statement. First is data type validation, data type check, which the Python will perform. If that data type check is satisfied, means it will go inside this if loop. Now let's say this is one of the parameter out of 50, age. There could be more 49 where I want to enforce this kind of condition, which is the condition of data check. Data value check, not data type. Data type check is done. Data value check. Now this will become more lengthy because the first thing is data type check, and then inside which we are writing like if age is less than 0, then age cannot be negative. For that again we will write some more if loop. Now how many if loop, if else condition, if else condition, while else condition, how many loops you will write? Okay, is this a optimized way of doing the program? Obviously no, right? So for that we are using Pydantic. Now I will give you one more motive of using Pydantic. Supposedly there is one more application. I'll give you many examples with which you can understand that why we need a Pydantic. Suppose you are a developer. You are a developer in company, right? Company X. Now you left that job. You left that job. Now there is a new developer come into the company on in place of you. You have already pushed your code on GitHub. Now the new developer will directly look at the code base from the GitHub, and maybe this developer has written the code in which it has kept all these things hidden, like name should be string, age should be integer. All these things are hidden, kept by the old developer. Okay, now what will happen? Supposedly, if this kind of scenario is there, so if I am having something like password in this, now this if something like this is there, then it has to be confidential, because it is very much obvious that if I give you that the if I write like password is equal to over here string, that will clearly give the idea to the any third party that in this the password is string means I will not even look at the character, I'll not look at even the numbers, I'll not even try out the numbers because it is saying that it is string. So I will directly focus on A to Z and A to Z. I will not even look at for the numbers 2, 3, 4. I'll not even try it out. It gives the clear hint to the programmer. Or maybe if the code base is being hacked by the third party hacker. Okay. So what developer has done? It has kept these things like name should be integer. This data type is actually kept hidden at the backend. Now suppose new developer comes into the picture and it knows that there is something called as name. Supposedly name is it is giving uh, Vishnu. That is okay. It is in a string. But age, if it is passing like this 30, which I shown you as an example. Now my program wants age should be what? Integer. But the programmer is giving what? In string. What will happen is that this 30 will be automatically validated by the Python. In this case, as I shown you in this, right? So code base is there. The old developer is having knowledge about because it has coded. It knows that the age should be integer. But if new developer comes into the picture, it does not know what has to be done. It has passed like this, and then also it will be approved by the Python. Right? Again, it should not happen. This is one more motivation of using Pydantic. Okay, and that is why Pydantic is very much important. Now, how to use Pydantic? So Pydantic is actually imported by. So if you want to use Pydantic, what you can do is always follow the library pages. So go to Pydantic. These are the library pages. Okay. Now, in this, you will get all the idea that what is Pydantic, how to use it, and why we need the Pydantic. Okay. So I'll give you some more use cases as and when I will advance in the Pydantic. But for a time being, what you can understand is Pydantic is used for what? Pydantic is used for two things. First is data type validation, and second is data validation. Okay, right? So once you go on this page, which is this page, you can see over here how to use Pydantic. So it is written from Pydantic import base model. Now, maybe this in this FDP only there was a portion of object-oriented programming in Python that is maybe already covered. So now you are aware about, or maybe you are already having the background of this one, that how to write oops statement in the Python, right? So the same kind of oops concept we have to use in Pydantic. Okay. If you want to use Pydantic, then you have to use it through base model. Okay, this is how it's an intermediate way of using Pydantic, and this is fixed. Okay, right? Now see how to use the Pydantic. I'm making a class which is called as patient class. Now this is my customized class. There is no built-in class I am using over here. This is a customized class. Right? Now I'm making a class called as patient class, right? I am trying to I want to use Pydantic, right? How to use it? Base model. So this patient class is actually inheriting base model. This class is actually inheriting base model. So base model is the father and this is the child. So father, all the policies, all the regulations should be inherited inside the patient. So this will strictly follow base model. And ultimately it says that it is following the Pydantic, right? Pydantic model. Okay. Now inside it class, this patient class, I am defining name as a string, age as the integer. You can write many things, like you can write float as a weight as a float. You can use as many as field, you can define as many as field as you want, right? Now see how I'm doing in Pydantic. What is the difference when you write in Pydantic kind of library, using Pydantic library? Now you can see that here, this is my function. What is that function? Insert patient data, as it was there in this case also. Insert patient data, right? Now insert patient data, inside the argument, there are two things written. First is patient and the other with the colon is also patient. Now what do you mean by this? In this, the first is object name, and this is nothing but class name. So this class, which is the patient class, you can see P, when we define class, it is always in capital. So this is a class and this is the object of this class. The type of object this patient is Pydantic. The type of object this patient is Pydantic, because this is actually having the schema of Pydantic, right? Now once you write like this, what you can do, you can just write patient.name and patient.age so that you can print these two. So instead of normal printing now like this, I am using the class method. This is a class method. Okay. Now next point. Next point is how to give input for this name and for this age. For that, I am making one dictionary. This is a standard way of using Pydantic. The dictionary of what? Dictionary of structured output, or dictionary of structured values. So structured values are what? Name is Nikunj, age is 30. Now this is the dictionary which I have created. Now what you need to do is, if you want to pass these values inside this class, which is a patient class, what you need to do is, you have to create one identical object of this dictionary. For this, I am writing like this. See, you can see this. This is my input, patient info. I am telling that on this patient info, compulsorily and strictly enforce the schema of patient class. Understand in simple English. This is my input, right? I want this to follow this one, patient class. Just write down this input over here and enforce the patient on top of it. Means what? Now this will be a pydantic object called as patient1, which will strictly follow this schema. This schema it will follow. Right? Okay. So first is taking the base model, using that base model from the pydantic to. So first patient should be learned that what I need to follow. So patient class is learning that I need to follow pydantic. Now this class has to be enforced everywhere, wherever the functions I am defining. I want to define this function. Here I need to pass this class, for which I need to first create the dictionary of input and compulsory enforce that on that dictionary the patient class. And I will name that as the pydantic object of that class, which is called as patient1. So you can see that the rules of patient models are applied to the patient info. Right. Now what we'll do, write down the function and write down patient1. So directly on this top of this, I am applying this input. I am passing this input through this, and it is actually triggered inside this function, which is called as insert patient data. Same way, you have one more function which you can write, that is update patient data. Okay, so same thing I have done is you can also update. Now what is the actual advantage of using pydantic? One change will be reflecting in every function. That if you change this 30 to 32, this will directly get passed. It will pass to this patient1. Now it will go inside this function also, it will go inside this function also. You just need to change in this dictionary, that's it. Everything will be taken care by now pydantic. Right. Now if I run this code, you can just see how the output it is giving me. So supposedly if I pass this integer as 32, which is actually required by the pydantic, it requires an integer. So if I run python py.py, now you can see what I'm printing is over here. Inside the first function, which is insert patient data, I am printing the name. Name is what? Nikunj. Age is what? 32. And the value is printed. This is the first function output. And this is the second function output. This is this one. Right. Now let's say if I change over here from integer to string, or maybe like this, instead of directly replacing it with the whole word, I'll write like something like this: 30 in string. 30 in string. This is called as 30 in string, not an integer. Right. Now if I run this py.py, you can see it is still able to print this 30, because what it has done, it has actually implicitly done typecasting. That is called as type portion. Type portion. If I just open this and I'll show you. Type portion. type coercion is the automatic or implicit conversion of a value from one data type to another, such as turning string into the number. Right? Now understand the point, very important. What was passed? What was passed? String. What class is requiring? The base model? Integer. But still it is able to give me the output. Why? Because it is doing this type coercion, and that is also being done by identic. So it is implicitly uh, doing the type coercion inside it, and it will validate your data automatically. So if I consider this case, which case? The developer case. Supposedly, if developer has passed something like this in string, once it will go inside the validation, it will directly convert it into 30, which is integer. Right? So you don't have to now worry about that what should be the data type of this variable, what should be the data type of this variable. It will be taking care itself from implicit data validation. Right? Okay. But if you write something like this, instead of the value 30, I am writing it in words. Now you see what is happening. It is not able to pass that. What it is giving me? It is a one validation error for patient. This is called as Pydantic returning you the validation error. Input should be a valid integer, unable to parse string as an integer. In this case, it will get failed. But in this case, it will pass. Right? I hope you are able to understand the use of Pydantic, why we need Pydantic. Very important library. Okay, can just share the response in chat window. Are we on the same page? Are you able to understand what we are going through? Yes. Okay, great. Chalo. Now let's increase. Let's see some more functionality of the Pydantic, how it works. Now we are introducing one more field inside the Pydantic, which is called as optional. Now, what do you mean by optional? Again, we will understand with the use case, right? Now, in this use case, what I am actually telling you, possibly if I open Paint itself. Sure. So, what is actually happening is, suppose uh, there are many fields like age, name. There is some field called as married in form. Now, when I talk about, let's say, not the hospital management system, there may be a married is also one of the key aspect. But if I talk about, let's say, student database, student ka database. In student database, is this a required field or maybe is it having any importance when I consider it with respect to student database? This one field, which is the field in the form, married. And the database not hospital, but understand it as like a student database. Is there any relevance of this field with the student feedback form or student form, where all the student data is there? There is no relevance. Why? There is no relevance why whether the student is married or unmarried. It depends. Like only the thing is like education, right? The degrees are the required thing. The CGPA is the required thing. These are the important field. Age is also important. but maybe this is not required, right? Now, what will happen is, supposedly that new developer is not entering this field, married. Your code should be giving you the error, right? In that form, the married field is there, but the new developer actually forgot to give this value for this married or unmarried. It forgot. So your code should the code should flag an error. But if you use Pydantic, what Pydantic offers you? Pydantic offers you something called as optional field. From where I am importing optional, I am importing optional from one more library called as typing. Okay, right? Now see, this is my class patient, which is inheriting base model. Name I require in string, age I require in integer, weight I require in float. Okay. Now I am declaring one more parameter inside this patient class, one more member of this patient class, married. This married, I am declaring it as the optional field, which should be giving me the answer in only Boolean type, either true or false. Either true or false. Married may be yes, married may be no. If the user does not provide that this tab value, then by default the value is none. The by default value is none. Okay. So there's the same case, like there are in Google form, let's say you are required to give you are required to fill the Google form, let's say the FDP registration form. In that there may be one field, the field called as let's say department. Now, no matter you are from mechanical, electronics, computer, ICT, you are interested in attending Python FDP because you want to learn the FDP, Python. So in that case, department does not matter because the FDP is from scratch. It is 40 hours course explaining you from the very first basic Python to the final application development using Python. So for you, it is like ready to attain the FDP. There is no prerequisite. So in that case, that department field may become an optional field when you register for this FDP, right? And if you don't give that field value, like say electronics department, computer science department, that will by default take it as a none. So you don't have to take the worry about that. Here also I need to pass something. Okay. Then I am also including one field called as allergy, the one more member. That is also optional. Means the patient is having any allergy or what. So that could be more than one allergy could be possible, for which I am writing list of string. So the value of that patient which will give it, let's say the patient is having 3 different allergies: dust allergy, skin allergy, whatever the allergies are, that will be stored as a string in the list. So it will be a list of string. It will be a list of string. And if the patient does not have any allergy, by default value is none. If it is there, you can give it over here. If the allergies are there, it will store that into this member. Okay. Contact details. I'm also adding this contact details. Now, what do you mean by contact details? Patient contact details, right? Now here I am writing it should be a type of dictionary, and it should be like key and value. It should be a key. Key is also string, value is also string. Okay. Now see the information which is being passed as an input. Again, patient info is the dictionary. Name is Nikunj, age is 30, weight is 75.2. Allergies I am giving as 2 allergies which I have inputted. Contact details having email and phone number. Key value. Key value. Right? I need to convert this into the Pydantic object, for which I will do this. And then call this function, right? So it will go inside this function and it will try to print all these things. Sorry. Now here I am not passing married. You can see my input. I am not passing any married value. But since married is optional field, that will not flag an error. It will pass your code and give whatever you are printing it over here, whatever values are being passed, and those values will get print over here. Okay. So if I run this code, Python 6.py. So you can see the values are printed, right? Okay. So this is optional field example. Now next is in this now what we can do is supposedly in my form I am having one more tab, right? Now what that tab is, suppose that tab is email. Okay, so in my form there is one tab called as email. Now email, see, we are understanding what sort of functionality Identity is providing you, right? Now email is like xyz@gmail.com. Now this also has to get verified. The email should be in this form only. So in Pydantic you have inbuilt data type validation also. Inbuilt data type validation also, which is actually made by Pydantic. Let's say there is one web URL which is required to enter into the form by the user. How to find out that this is the actual URL or how that URL looks like? Okay. For this also Pydantic is providing built-in data type validation. How? See this. There is something called as email string. Now what this will do? It will validate your entered email whether it is having the same pattern as of email or it is something else. If it is something else, it will generate an error. So if it is not there in the form of abc@gmail.com, it will generate an error. Same way, URL. Suppose www.google.com. Now this is the form of the Google, like HTTPS, and this is the form. Okay. Now in this form, if it is not like this, it should flag an error. The form will not pass the data. The data will not be inserted inside the database. So this is inbuilt data type validation for URL. Okay. Now how to apply this? I am defining again patient class. I am going with the same example. I am adding functionality into it one by one. See this email, right? So email in earlier case, if you see over here, email was of type string, because in this I have declared that here you write any contact details, right? It should be email, it should be mobile number, emergency contact number, everything will come inside this. But now I am going specific. I want email to be follow this type of data type validation check, right? The URL. So I am naming that member as email and URL cup. I have inputted LinkedIn URL. So I'll write LinkedIn URL, and it should follow the type of any URL. It should be of type any URL. It should be of type email string, right? The rest other things are as it is. Okay. Now see what I'm passing. Email abc@gmail.com. This email is actually following email string data type. Okay. And LinkedIn URL, I am passing the LinkedIn login page URL. This is a LinkedIn login page URL, right? Rest other things are as it is. So if I run this code, 7.5. So it is passing this. But if I just make some intentional error, intentionally, I'll create some error. abc.gmail.com. Suppose this is my input instead of @. So now what is happening is it is printing this, right? But it is not following the email string data type. Like it knows that it is kind of a email string data type, but still it is able to pass. Okay. Now what has to be done in this case if something like this is there? Okay. For which I am having one more facility. What is that? That is called as field. That is called as field. Right. Now what is field? Field means the main hero of Pydantic. If you want to understand Pydantic, field is the thing which you have to understand it fully, right? So field, what it offers you? It offers you many functionality. First is it with field you can also enter some restrictions for this specific tab. Supposedly, if I say name should be of type string and it should be of maximum length 50. The name cannot be more than 50. Right? How I am able to write this? Because I am having a field as a one of the sub module from the Pydantic. Next, age. Age, it should be greater than 0 and less than 120. If it is below 0, greater than 120, it will flag an error. Then email string. I will specifically come to this more. Why? Because field also helps to get the functionality of regex, that is regular expression. Regular expression. Now, maybe you are aware about this library of Python which is called as regular expression. How many of you know a regular expression? Can you respond back in the chat window? How many of you know regular expression? Are you knowing about regular expression or not? Okay, you don't know. Regular expression means what? That suppose if I just explain it over here. Suppose I want to find abc@gmail.com. Now this is a pattern. Something@something.com. x@y.com. This is a pattern. Supposedly, I am having some big text. I am having one big text paragraph, right? Suppose if I write one paragraph, from that paragraph, I want to only extract the email. So like a paragraph is like the my name is Nikunj. I am senior assistant professor at this X institute. I am having 14 plus years of experience. My email ID is nikunj@gmail.com. This is the paragraph. From that, I want to only parse email. I want to only get the email. For that, I will use something called as regular expression. RE. It will help you to detect the pattern from the whole raw data. It will help you to detect the pattern from whole raw data. Suppose if I write IP, okay, you can see this is a you can just play with this library. I'll explain you in detail, but not for now. I'm just explaining you the help of regular expression. What is regular expression? Suppose I'm having big text, right? Suppose my institute is X. I'm having 5 different sub networks inside my uh, institute. One of the network is having IP 192.168.1.2. One of the subnet is having IP of 192.167.1.3, something like this. Maybe this is your network ID and this is your host ID. Consider it like this. Now, if I want to detect the IP from the whole text, now IP is what? A dot B dot C dot D. This is a pattern. From the whole text, if I want to only extract the IP, I will use regular expression. Right? So when you talk about Pydantic, Pydantic is having this field. You can just take this, I'll just paste it inside this. Right? You can just check it out what this library is. What you can do is you can just paste the raw text here. Here you will get the cheat sheet. Like something dot something dot something dot dot something. You can just paste it your text string over here. It will give you, if you want to only fetch IP, then this will be your regular expression, which you will put it in Python code, right? Just take it from your side. I am not explaining you, but again, regular expression library page. This is most important Python library, which you everybody should learn. It is import RE. That's how you write it. Import RE. Matching operations similar to those found in the paragraph. Right? Okay. Just go through this documentation of regular expression. Always understand the concept through documentation pages only. Right? Okay. So field also give you the help to use regex. You can use field to use the functionality of regex. I'll show you. Okay. Chalo, age is restriction given. All these things are same as that. So it will be able to pass this all this detail. Okay. So first is data restriction, data value restriction. You can put it over here, right? Now we'll see some more functionality of field. What field can do. Now using field, what you can do is we can also write metadata with the help of field and one more thing which is called as annotated. Annotated. Now what is annotated? Annotated and field you can combine. So annotated is again imported from what? Typing. Field is imported from what? Pydantic. Now see the use of both of them. This is my patient class. My name. Now see, I am writing this. Just hover over to this, it will tell you what is annotated. Add context specific metadata to type. Whatever metadata you want to attach with the actual member of the class, for which you can use annotated, which is very much important in generative AI and agentic AI. Supposedly, if you want to give the context to ChatGPT, that what this whole member is all about, that metadata in the form of text, you can give it to the model, which is a ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, Perplexity, Mistral, Quinn, Kimi, whatever it is. You can use this annotated field. Now see, it will be looking like a prompt. You can see that it's like a prompt. The name should be of type string. Then in field, what I am defining metadata. What is the first metadata? Maximum length is 50. The name should not be more than 50 character. Title means the name of the patient. So here it will append the name of the patient. Whatever the patient will enter, that will get appended over here. Then description. What this description is? This will help to understand the programmer or maybe the GPT. If I talk about AI agents, it will help to understand the programmer or agents, AI agents, that what this field is. Give the name of that patient in less than 50 characters. So it will help the programmer to understand that this field, which is called as name, which should be of string data type, the maximum character length should be 50. The title should be a name of the patient, and the description is like it has to be taking the name and it should not be greater than 50. With the examples should be like Nikunj, Aman, Vishal, Vishnu, whatever it is. So if you know something about few short prompting, maybe you are aware about this. In few short prompting, prompt engineering part, what we do? We give the example to the GPT that I want the data such as, this is the example. This is what is the example which I am passing to the programmer. So programmer now clearly understand that what this field is and how to give the input in this name field. Okay. Age, email, URL, weight. Again, in married, I am annotating it and default value is none. And here the description is the patient married or not? This is again the hint to the programmer in simple English language. Right? Okay. Same way in the allergy, you can define this contact details. And then if you run this, you will get the answer. Right? So I'll run this Python 9.5. You can see that all the values are being printed. Right? So now we have clubbed two things, field and annotated. Right? Now let's go to 10. Now in this, suppose my weight is over here, you can see the weight I am passing is string value. But what I want weight is in the original class, weight is what? Float. And it should be greater than 0. With the field, I am writing the restriction that the weight should be greater than 0. So now we don't have to write individual if condition that if weight is greater than 0, do this, else generate the error. Now field will do the job. But what is the important point? Weight should be float. I am passing weight as string. Then also it is able to run. Now there comes the problem. The problem is I want to strictly follow the schema. I want the programmer, whosoever is the YZ programmer, I am the X programmer. I made this code. I know that the weight should be float. But even if any Y or Z programmer will come, they need to pass only float. They cannot pass the string, because ultimately it should be a float. But since Pydantic is doing implicit type coercion, you are getting the proper output. But I want that if something like this is given, where I don't want the string, I want the float data type in the weight, it should generate the error. It should generate the error. And for that, I'm using one more keyword called as strict. Now, what strict is? Strict is like this. I'm writing weight in as a float greater than 0 and strict equal to true. Now, what do you mean by this? I am having one strict keyword which is defined inside my Pydantic object, and I'm using it as a true. True means that whenever any programmer enters the value of weight as string, it should generate the error. If it is entering the float data type in the weight, it should not generate the error, and it will pass that value and insert that into the database. So this is now new thing which is being added. Strict validation before implicit type coercion. Strict validation before implicit type coercion. What do you mean by this? That means that the weight has to be float only. Grammar cannot deviate from that data type which is defined inside the schema of the patient class. The patient class is strictly saying that it should be float. The user has to write the weight in terms of float only, right? So supposedly if I pass weight over here, it is a float, but if I just do the print string data type, if I pass the string data type, so right now I'm 75.2, I'm having 75.2, but not in float, it is in string. Now if I run Python 10.5, see, it will generate the error. What it is writing? Weight input should be a valid number and it cannot be a integer. So now there is no implicit type coercion on this specific weight field. But if you want to impose it on all the members, you can write strict on all the members so that the programmer or user cannot bypass the validation. So now if I run, it is able to print, right? So this is the strict validation which you can apply. Now next is field validator. Field validator. Now what do you mean by field validator? Field validator means what? That on specific member, suppose if we can have a look at this. Suppose there is a field called as email. On email, I am actually imposing field validator. Now what do you mean by this? That means that I will give you the use case for this. Let's talk about the use case. Supposedly there is one company, big MNC called as Adani. Now Adani is having a tie-up with some hospitals, let's say, or maybe some banks. Some banks. Suppose Adani is a big MNC, and it is having some uh, tie-ups with the let's say banks like ICICI or HDFC. These are the tie-ups with the Adani. Maybe Adani is having also tie-up with some hospitals. The hospitals are, let's say, Zydus, Apollo. Now, whenever, let's say, I work for two Adani institutes, so that's why I'm able to tell you the example that when I joined the Adani University, which is the university at Ahmedabad, they initially sent me for the medical check. As in government institutes also, when you are recruited as a faculty at the government institute, they are asking for your medical checkup, and for that they will ask you to go at the specific hospital, right? So when I joined the Adani, I was asked to go in Apollo Hospital for a medical checkup. Now, when I entered into the Apollo and I told them that I am having a full medical checkup today, I am from the Adani, I am the Adani employee. They directly checked my name in their database and they found that yes, my name is there. So they will not ask me any other details because there they have the database which is directly linked with the Adani. Right? My age is already there, my name is already there. Uh, Whatever they require. Suppose my email ID is there. So my email ID is already there in that database, which is connected with the Adani database. Right. Now what will happen? I just need to go through all the checks and then I'll come from that. I don't need to pay any single rupee because it is from the Adani itself. Now how they checked that I am the Adani employee? How they checked that I am the Adani employee? Because Adani is having a tie-up, they have the database which is already being linked. So from that it will be able to get the idea. Right? Same way, I gave you the example of e-commerce portal. Right? Supposedly Amazon is only using ICICI credit card for payment. Right? It also only uses HDFC credit card. The fixed field validators, if the schema is there, then you need to go for, in Pydantic there is something called as field validator. Right? Now after this use case you can understand the example. Supposedly I am applying the field validator. Now whenever I write field validator which is @ sign, that is called as decorator. In Python there is concept of decorator. Very important concept. You should know this. Decorator. Right? Where it will used, it is very much in used when you design the agentic AI application. When you use the tool calling applications in the agentic AI, we use decorators. So here in field validator, you have to provide the member on which you want to impose this field validator. It's like a supervisor. Field validator is like a supervisor, which will strictly follow this field, which will strictly observe this field, like it will continuously observe email. Right? Now what it will observe? So after this, you have to write one method for this field validator, and it is always class method, which is again documentation from the Pydantic. This is not my defined. If you use Pydantic documentation, they have all these things properly written, that after field validator, you have to write class method, decorator, and inside which you have to write the function which you want. In that, the first argument will be class, which is this one, and second argument will be value, which will be the value of this email which user will pass. First argument will be class nothing but this patient class, and value is nothing but the value which will be passed by the user, which is the email ka value. Okay. Now, what is the importance of field validator? Understand. I only want to validate the email IDs which are having the emails like domains like hdfc.com and icici.com. So it's like Adani sent me somewhere in the hospital for this. My ID is adani.com. If they find adani.com in my linkage, my ID, then they will validate and allow me to medical check. Otherwise, they will ask the money. Right? Same way, hdfc.com. Okay, so only these two domains are allowed. Adani is having tie-up with only these two domains. These two banks, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. So it will only validate something like this: abc@icici.com, xyz@hdfc.com. Anything apart from this, sdf@access.com will get rejected. This will be rejected. Okay. So how to check this? Split the whole email ID, split it using @ and check it from the back. This is called as list indiasing, if you know. It's like from the back indices we are checking. So if you have this, it will just follow @ and so supposedly if I pass something like this, which is abc@sici.com, it will first split abc into one part, icici.com into other part, because we are splitting with a @. Then it will check from back -1. Is it ICI.com? Is there any ICICI.com in the valid domain? Yes, it is there. So what it will do? If it is not there in the valid domain, it will generate the error. It is there, then return that value. Right? Okay. So that is how that the linkage will work. Same way, if I can also apply name in the failed validator. And then what I'm trying to check is supposedly age. In age, I will check if the value is between 0 to 100. Otherwise, it should float the value error. But this is not the proper use case. Use case is this one. This is the proper use case. Right? I told you the example. Tie-ups that you can understand it over here. Okay. Then there is something called as model validator. Now, what do you mean by model validator? Model validator is nothing but it will check this whole pydantic class model. It will not check field by field. Like currently we were observing field validator, which was applied on the field. Now there is something called as model validator, which will applied on top of the whole pydantic model. Now how it works? I'll give you the example. Supposedly in my this class, I am having one something called as age. Right? Now I want to enforce one property. What is that? If age is greater than 60, means senior citizen, then there must be a emergency contact in contact details. My GitHub Copilot is very smart, right? There must be emergency contact in contact details. This is the schema which I want to impose, right? So suppose if the user gives age greater than 60, like 65, then it will also check this. Now this is the relation, the member relation among the whole model, right? So I am applying this model validator on top of, I am making one function called as validate emergency contact. Now if the age is greater than 60 and there is no emergency contact in contact details, if age is greater than 60 and there is no emergency contact in emergency field, then it will generate the error that patient older than 60 must have the emergency contact. Right, now see, this is applied on whole model, then and only then it will be able to find that if this is something, then there should be something over here which should be checked. But here it is individual, like field validator is individual for this, individual for this, individual for this. But now we are checking among the relationship of the member. If the age is greater than 60, directly it will check this. Is there any emergency contact number is there? Yes, then it will pass. Insert the entry into the database. If it is not having emergency contact number in the contact details, it will give the error like this. Okay, right. So you can see that emergency contact number is there. It will check and it will able to validate. Then this is also very much important. Compute field. Now what is compute field? Supposedly this is my class patient, right? Now something I want it to happen on fly, on demand. What do you mean by that? Name is there, email is there, age is there, weight is there, height is there. All these things are already being defined by the programmer. User has to enter these values. Now supposedly doctor wants that I want to check the BMI of this patient on fly. Now if you see the schema, all the members, there is no BMI field defined in this class. There is no BMI field defined in this class. Supposedly I am having this something like this, BMI, and then it is float. If this is something like this, then it is okay. But I don't have this. But doctor wants it on fly calculation. Then there is something called as in Pydantic compute field. Now what do you mean by this? If something has to be computed from the existing member field, if something has to be calculated on fly from the existing member field values, then we use compute field. Now what do you mean by this? Just understand. I am writing the decorator of compute field. This is the one of the entity which helps you to call BMI as an attribute, not the function. Forget about for a timing what is this property. Understand this function. BMI will return the float value and it will take the float value. Right now, what it will take? It will take this weight, it will take this height, apply this equation and calculate the BMI and return the BMI. Now we don't have any BMI field over here. How it will get printed? If I want to print the BMI, I don't have even BMI member into this patient class. How to print that? For that, the compute field will help you. You calculate something on fly using @compute field decorator, and then inside this function, you can directly print it like this. BMI patient.bmi. Now again, patient.name. Name is already there. Age is already there. There is no problem with that. But there is no BMI in the original class. But still you are able to calculate. Why? Because you have used compute field. So you can also compute the BMI. Okay. So if I just run this, Python 13.py. So it will be able to tell me BMI is 25.42 because the weight which I passed is 75.2 and the height which I passed is 1.72. No matter what is the type of that height, feet, inches, just a number which I give, right? Okay. So this is the use of compute field. Now the last and the final thing in Pydantic, which is called as the nested models, nested Pydantic model. Nested Pydantic model. Now, what do you mean by nested Pydantic model? Supposedly, I am having this class called as patient class. Now, in this patient class, I am having one field as called as address. Now, if I want to define the address, how I can define the address? It could be like this. Supposedly Ahmedabad, maybe like Narayan Bungalows. Pin code is 381220. Then Ahmedabad. Now, what do you mean by this? This is string. This is pin code, which is an integer. This is again string. Understand the problem with the address field. Address may be of multiple data type. It could be string, because like if you talk about this is a string. Then this is the pin code. This is again string, Ahmedabad. How to extract? Supposedly, if I want to only extract the pin code, how I can extract from the address field? Is there any possibility to extract? I am having this address field having multiple data types, which is it becomes a complex. Now the field become complex because it is having multiple data types. If I want to only get the pin code, how I will get it from the address field? How I will be able to print? There is no chance of doing that. So how to do this is, you can define address as itself one identity class and make that class over here. So address, this is my main class, in which address it is saying it is the address. This is a address class itself. So class inside class. That is a pydantic. This is a pydantic model. Pydantic model is having several fields. There is one more model, which is the address model, which is having city as a string, state as a string, and pin code as a string. This is called as nested pydantic model. Now, if you do this, you have to define two dictionary. One for the main class, which is name, gender, age, and address. And second for the address class, address dictionary. You have to define city as Gurgaon, state as Haryana, pin code as 1222001. Because you have a two different pydantic model, you have to define two different dictionaries. And in main dictionary, main patient class, you define address as address1, which is this dictionary. So this is ultimately pointing to this, right? Now, if you print the type, so if I just run this, suppose I want to get the city. City is what? City is defined in address, but where it is actually residing in patient class. So I will only print patient. I will not go to the address. So patient dot address dot something. If I run Python 14.py, you can see address is first is it will print the whole object. Then I am printing city. City is nothing but Gurgaon. State is Haryana. Right? Okay. So understand the nested model. Is this clear? I hope you are able to understand. Is it clear? I hope we are on same page. Okay, no issue. So I'll take 2 minutes of break and then I will continue for the Streamlit. So I'll take more 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, but I'll take 1-2 minutes break. So please be there. Not 10 minutes of break. We have to complete it by 5 or 5:10. So not 10 minutes, only 2 to 3 minutes. I hope I am audible. Uh, if it
Yes,
is
sir,
not
audible.
audible, okay. So this is all about the pydantic part. This is a basic pydantic which you can use for the data validation and data type validation. Right? We have observed several different functionalities which are being offered by the pydantic. Now I'll go to the Streamlit. So what is Streamlit? Now Streamlit is one of the very important library which is actually used as a I should say, front end. When you make an application using Python, then Streamlit is kind of a front end for you, right? So there are two things, front end and back end in the application. And in between you have a API, which is connecting front end and back end. So when you talk about front end in Python, we have several options like React and all those are there which you can use. But specifically Python library is Streamlit. So when like you explain your students the prototype, or if you are making some application in Gen AI and agentic AI, then you can use Streamlit as the front end, right? So this is a kind of a GUI library which offers by the Python. Now how to use it? So first is you have to import Streamlit as the ST, right? Now I will just run this code so that I can show you parallelly that how it will give you the. I'll go inside Streamlit code. I hope all of you know that how to work in VS Code, right? So in Streamlit code, we are running first app.py. So for this, you have to write Streamlit run instead of Python. You have to write Streamlit run, and then app.py. Now this application, which is app.py, will open on certain local host and the port number, right? You can see this. This is a local host. The port number is 8501, which is provided by me in this, right? So it by default also it may be opening on the local host at particular services, port services, right? Here I have not provided, so it has opened on 8501. But you can also write 8080, 5081, whatever the port number you want to write. But you have to launch this application on localhost, right? Okay. Now, how to give the title of the page, which is the front end. Like this is your front end now. I'll show you my agentic application tomorrow, which I have developed in Streamlit. I'll show that demo tomorrow, that 29th session on 29th. Okay. So first is the title. Title is my depot website. How to give the title of the page, GUI. Title is the method of the Streamlit. Then if you want to write header, now what do you mean by header? Inside title, you have some header and subheader, right? So how to write header is this smartphone analysis tool. Subheader is smartphone from the Apple. So this is the header. I am giving you direct realization. This is the GUI. This is the header. This is the title. This is the subheader, right? Now inside which if you want to write down the text, then this is the simple text which I have written. Like any text input you can give using dot text. So if you want to understand how from where I came across all these functionality, so again, what you need to do is Streamlit Python or Streamlit documentation. You can see over here all the concepts are there, right? Then what are the fundamentals, basic concept? Streamlit run and then your application name, right? Okay. So you will get many tutorials also. So how to write st.write? What is this? Right? So it will tell you with all the example. Okay. I'll show you all these examples, but this is the page you have to strictly follow. Right? Advanced concept. How it will cache the data. Right? Uh, Caching is altogether the different thing. This comes in the agentic AI session state. That I'll tell you on 29th. Right? But again, understand that what are these library pages. Okay, you have to go through all these concepts one by one. Okay, so text is how to write. Then markdown. You can also write markdown. You can see markdown what is written. This is a markdown heading, bold. In bold, you will get this. Same as the title, right? You can also define markdown list like this. Brands, Apple, Samsung, and Oppo. So these are the brands. This is the markdown inside which you have three categories: Apple, Samsung, and Oppo. Right? Then you can write the math equation in Streamlit using LaTeX. This is the integration of LaTeX with Streamlit. Okay. So this is how you can write it in LaTeX. If any equation, if you want to write, see this. This is the equation of variance, right? Then if you want to write the code, suppose like this in ChatGPT, you might have observed like this, which you can directly copy and paste it inside your VS Code. You have to write st.code. So that will be taking a as the number, b as the number, and return a plus b, which is the function which I have written. Okay. Then between the two GUI, if you want to split and make a proper partition, then you can use divider. You can see between your code and your markdown. This is your code and this is your markdown. You have some divider. This is called as divider. Okay. Inside also which I am writing the code. Right. Then now there is something called as write method. Now this is very special method. What is write? Even if you go to the Python documentation page, you will get write explained in very much of the detail. You can see this. Now this is actually magic method. Write is actually magic method in Streamlit. Now why magic? Why it is called as magic method? You can see this, that this is my markdown. This is my code. But when I write this thing which was earlier declared as markdown as a write method, what it will do is it will directly understand that is this a markdown or is this a code. It will directly understand inside implicitly conversion it will do. Same like a Pydantic was doing. It will be able to know that this, what has been written by the user, is it a markdown or is it a code kind of thing? So that's why write is always called as, whenever you don't understand how to write the code, instead of declaring st.code, you can directly write st.write and then write the code. It will directly understand that this is the code which is being written by the user. Same way for the markdown. Okay, so always focus on this method more because this is a magic method. It will do your task without giving you the error, right? It will directly convert what is your requirement. So this is the simple web UI which is there in the first one, right? Now next, you have something called as interactive web page or interactive UI. Now again, I will run this. If you want to get out of this, you have to just press Control C, right? So I am giving keyboard interrupt. I guess it is hanged or what? Or I can take new terminal, right? CD Streamlit uh, Streamlit quotes, and then these are called as requirement.txt file. What do you mean by this? These libraries which you have to import for running this code, like Streamlit is the library, I need NumPy, I need Pandas, I need Matplotlib, I need Seaborn, I need scikit-learn. Whatever file I need to run the code, I can write it in requirement.txt. Right? So what you need to do is you have to first write all the requirements in the requirement.txt, which is my folder under which I am having this file. Right? Then you have to make the virtual environment in Python. You have to make the virtual environment and then activate that virtual environment. V, then scripts, and then activate. So my virtual environment is activated. Now if I run Streamlit run interactive.py, so it will open the GUI for that. Right? Now see, what are the other options which I have given over here? Go to the interactive.py. Here I am first having a title interactive elements. Then I am giving the option of uploading the CSV file. So I am having one file in my data folder, which is temp.csv and smartphone.csv. So if you want to upload from this Streamlit, you can write st.fileuploader, right? So here I am having the option, and this is the exception, like try catch part. Like if file is not there, then convert that into CSV, take it from the data folder, convert it into the data frame, and you can then upload it over here, right? So I'll just go to this upload and I'll just upload this CSV file, and you will get all the whole file over here in the GUI itself. Now you can download from this, you can search from this, you can do the full screen, right? Or whatever you want to do, you can do it. So this is the option, st.file uploader. And we are talking about CSV file, so it will take only CSV file. Then you have a button object. You can see click me. Click me is the button object. So what is inside this button object? I am writing click me. If I click, this condition is false, now it will become true. You can see, right? And it will show you that button was pressed. Button was pressed. So what you need to write is, when we write st.write magic method on the button object, it will show that the button was pressed, it will display it over here, right? Then we have a checkboxes. Checkboxes like this. This is a checkbox. So you can see display plot st.checkbox. Value is always true. So initially value is true. If I just untick this checkbox, it will give me false. If I tick this, it will be a true. Again, I need to write st.write check. So it will take it automatically. Then I am having three options. Radio button. So for radio button, how to write this? Radio button, create the object of radio button using st.radio. And then select me, which is the title of this. Then three options, option 1, option 2, option 3. If I select option 1, there is nothing happening. It will display only option 1 over here. If I select option 2, it will display option 2. But in option 3, I am passing one dictionary, which is called a sample dictionary, and which I have created over here. You can see this. This is a dictionary which I have created, which will displayed when I select the option 3, radio button option 3. So if I select option 3, you can see it will display the whole dictionary, right? Okay. Then select box. This is called a select box. Apple, banana, cherry, three options. So I can write st.select box. By default, it will open banana because I am writing by default index is equal to 1. Okay. Then multi-select. If you have multiple option, right? So for that multi-select, you can use Mumbai, then you can use Pune, then you can use Indore. Multi-select is the category. You can select multiple options. Again, the st dot write multi. Then slide bar. You can select slide bar. There are three options: A, B, C. Why three options? I have given over here. st dot select bar. Select a value from A, B, and C. You will get the select bar like this, right? Then slider. Now, what do you mean by slider? Slider means it is like this. It will be always in steps of two. Initially, it will start with steps of two, and then it will increase as per your requirement. Why? Label is select a number from range slider. This is select a number from range slider. Minimum value is 1, maximum value is 20. Minimum value is 1, maximum value is 20. Step size of 2. So minimum increment size is 2. You can see. Right? So, and the by default, it will open at 5,7. It will open at this. By default, 5,7. Then you can enter a number. You can enter a number using number input. So you can enter any number. Minimum value should be 0, maximum value should be 100. So if I enter 101, then also it is allowed, but you have to put certain condition. But it is just for the help of the user that don't give maximum more than 100 and 100 value. It should be between 0 and 100, right? Then date input. How to give date input? So for that, this is a date input. This is how you can give the date input. Why? The format is DDMMYY. Right? This is how you give the date. And this is how you give the text input. This is the text input. Right? This is a text box. So these are the different category of the Streamlit with which you can play and make the attractive GUI. Right? I will show you some more use cases of Streamlit in the 29th session, where I will be demonstrating the Capstone project. There I will show you how this Streamlit is used in AI agents based application. When you make AI agent based application, how it is being used, right? So this is nothing but the intro of Streamlit. So some more things about Pydantic, some more things about the Streamlit we will discuss in the next session with the Capstone project. Also with, I will give you the intro of the generative AI and how the different tools of AI can be used for the academic purposes in the education. Right. So that's it for today. If you have any question, you can write it in chat box. I hope you got some good amount of new knowledge in this 2 hours. So any question from any participant? I guess, yes, please go ahead with the question if you have. Or if you are okay with the explanation, that also fine with me. If you have any question, you can write it in chat box. But my objective was to completely help you to understand with the all practicality, no theory. Right? I don't believe in theoretical part. I always believe in practicality. So I explained with all the practicality only. Can we link two questions just like sorting in Amazon, Flipkart sites? What do you mean by this? Link two question. Acha, That is nothing but like supposedly it's like a multiple pages asking the same question. Are you talking about that? Like Stack Overflow or Quora? Huh. So in that case, you need the NLP, natural language processing. There you have to go into the neural networks. That with the obviously using the Python NLP libraries, but with Pydantic, it is not able to do that. Pydantic is just for data validation. That's it. For linking two different questions having a similar meaning. I hope I'm uh, pronouncing your question correctly, or I'm understanding your question correctly. That the two questions are semantically same, but the way of asking is different. Are you asking in that sense? So in that you need the NLP library. Yeah, you have to go to the NLP, natural language processing, neural networks, RNN, LSTM, all those things are there. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, sir. So we can conclude this session handing over to you, Dinesh sir.